I've got it wrong. I made a video a little while ago about the 3 steps to financial freedom, and it wasn't as nuanced as it needed to be. And in this video, I want to explain what I missed and what you need to know to make sure that you achieve your ideal retirement or whatever happens next. Welcome to What Happens Next. Now, a few weeks ago, I made a video for this channel, and it was called the 3 Steps to Financial Freedom. We'll put a link in the notes to the original video, highlighting the 3 steps you can take to identify how close you are to whatever financial independence means to you. However, and I do this every now and again, I rewatch the videos to see how happy I am with the content. And I watched it and I realised that I missed some fundamental points in that video that I need to explain. Because even though there's nothing in the video that's wrong per se, I think we need to have a bit of nuance when we're thinking about our financial plan. So who am I? I'm Chris. I'm a chartered financial planner and director of my own business. I've been helping people for the past 20 years navigate the what happens next period of their life, that 50 to 60, thinking about retirement and thinking about what they need to do next. And in this video, I want to talk about the elements that you might want to consider in addition to the elements we talked about in the original video that give you a bit more nuance to your enough, your number of financial independence. And it's a bit embarrassing because there's some elements that I probably should have included in the first video but didn't, but hopefully this will correct it. Now, one of the important things for me is we help as many people as we can plan and prepare well for what happens next in their lives. And that's why I'd love you to do 2 things today. Number 1 is like this video and subscribe to the channel, because that allows YouTube to know that we're adding value, if we are, to your journey to what happens next. And then YouTube shout to more people and we get to help more. But what I'd also like to do is make sure that we're adding as much value as possible to your journey towards what happens next. And we've got a bunch of free resources. What I'd recommend you do is click that QR code, and I think the best starting point is our quiz that we've got on the What Happens Next website, because that gives you a starting point to understand where you are from a well-being perspective, to make sure that you understand the areas that you're really strong from a well-being perspective, but the areas that you might need and want some additional help. So let's move on to mistake number 1. Because I, in the original video, assumed that your expenditure is going to be static, it's going to be level throughout the remainder of the next 30 years. And in reality, the odds are it won't be, because we're going to typically go through different phases of our lives in our 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s and beyond. Typically with my clients, they get to a point where they've achieved a degree of financial independence and they want to spend probably the next decade or so doing things that they've always wanted to do but never had the time. Now that might include more travel, that might include having experiences that they're still physically able and capable to do but may not be able to do later in their lives. I've spoke to somebody the other day who's 62 and is going on a cruise to the Antarctic. And he said to me, the reason I'm doing it now is because if I wait, I don't know whether I will have both the desire or the physical ability to continue to do it. So that stage of our lives, we might want to think about go, the stuff we want to do and we're still physically able to do in that period of our lives. Then we might move into, in our mid-70s to 80s, a period of slow go. We're still physically able and active. We still have the ability to do certain stuff, but we probably don't want to do some of that international travel anymore. And again, we're all unique, so you need to build your own plan when it comes to this. But typically we find that in that phase of life, potentially we're going to be spending less, and then later we find ourselves not wanting or physically capable to be doing a lot at the end and later in our lives. Now there is an additional consideration when we're thinking about a financial plan, and that might be the need for long-term care later in our lives. But certainly assuming that your expenditure is going to be level throughout our lives in this period of our lives is probably a mistake, and thinking about our financial plan in terms of what we're going to need in different phases is certainly worthwhile. Second thing I wanted to talk about, and the mistake that I made in the original video, is assuming guaranteed income is going to start when you need or want it. I'm doing some training in my business at the minute with some younger members of my team, and we were talking about the state pension, because in the original video I said what you could do is take your state pension away from the income you need to work out what your gap is. But here's the nuance. You may want to stop work earlier than the guaranteed income you're going to get will kick in. And that's probably true for two elements of guaranteed income. The first element is state pension, because the earliest your state pensions are going to start is probably 67. And we're in a position where you may decide to move into retirement or what happens next at 60. So thinking about the nuance of that, we need to have a bigger income gap in those 7 years before the state pension kicks in to fill, before that starts to be provided. The same might be said for defined benefit pension schemes that typically have an income start at a specified date. So taking the amount of income you expect from the amount of income you want is fine generally. However, you need to factor in the fact that you might want to stop work a bit earlier, and particularly before that income starts. So think about that nuance when you're building your picture of enough. And my third mistake is using the 4% rule. Now, in the previous video, I mentioned a calculation which is designed as a really simple way to work out how financially independent you are. Now, that was designed by a financial planner in the 90s called William Bengen. It's called the 4% rule, and it suggests that retirees could take out 4% of their portfolio each year without running out of money over a 30-year period. And it certainly gives you a starting point and gives you the ability to know where you are without going into a bit of a deeper dive with somebody like me, somebody who's going to really give you the nuance. However, it doesn't reflect some of the nuances of your plan. It doesn't reflect when the income's going to start. It doesn't reflect the fact that you might want more income now and less income later. It doesn't reflect the fact that for a couple of years from now, you might consult or work part-time. It just gives you a starter for 10 to think about how close you are to financial independence. But it's not designed to be nuanced. Now, if you're a whiz with Excel, you can actually build your more nuanced financial plan. Certainly, I've known people over the years who have done that. As a professional financial planner, we use specialist tools called Cashflow to help really map out your financial plan. So, they're the three mistakes I made. That video was designed to be a broad brush. I'm sort of a bit embarrassed, but I stand by the video to give you as a starting point. But I'm really hopeful this video has added a bit more nuance, giving you a couple more factors to consider when you're thinking about your number and your level of financial independence. But if you haven't seen the original video, I still think there's enough in there to, even though I'm a little bit embarrassed of it, I still think there's enough in there to make sure that you're in a position where if you're starting to think about financial independence, you'll get a lot out of it. You can do that by clicking the video there. Hopefully that's useful. Have a lovely day, and we'll see you on What Happens Next soon.